In our short history of not quite 5 years, a lot has been achieved as far as forming a football club is concerned.
This decision by the Board of Directors of Port Adelaide is obviously the most significant move made by the club in its 120-year history.
They demanded that Port withdraw its bid and stop all negotiations with the AFL by 12 noon.
This league will not support the Port Adelaide Football Club in any way in its bid to enter a team in the Australian.
So we can't stop things now, they will go ahead.
It's understood one option is to ban the club from playing in the SANFL.
Then a silent and flushed Magpie group emerged.
We're going to have a very, very sad situation here in South Australian football.
The Port Adelaide crowd, gee, given KG no sort of serve, he's got a police escort.
This is quite silly.
It's ridiculous.
The league sees Monday night's crucial AFL meeting as a big chance to block Port's bid.
If the clubs, for one reason or another, see fit to knock it back, then, you lose some, you win some.
They met at President Max Bashir's office this morning. After 2 hours, they put to a vote a plan to enter a composite team in the AFL under the same conditions as the AFL offered Port. The vote was passed 10-1. The decision was then faxed to AFL chiefs and to each individual AFL club president.
It would make it a far more attractive proposal.
Depending on negotiations with the AFL, a combined side would be playing as early as next season.
Injunction papers have been served on Port Adelaide, forcing them to appear in the Supreme Court on Friday.
We can't make any comment at the moment. The matters are before the court.
We need to convince one more club to vote no, and Port's plan is vetoed. The AFL's deferral last night was seen on both sides of the border as a setback for Port
And
Adelaide.
that the AFL Commission conduct further negotiations with all relevant parties in relation to the admission of a team from South Australia in the AFL competition.
It was revealed today that 4 years ago the SANFL registered a company called the Adelaide Football Club. Outside the court, the AFL's lawyer Jeff Brown kept in constant touch with his bosses.
We'll just wait and see what happens with the court case later today.
The agreement between Port and the AFL expires in 6 hours, allowing the AFL and the SANFL to discuss a composite.
Following the announcement, the league will ask to move into the national competition next season.
And it's my view that they will accept the situation of a composite side.
I think our chances today are so much better than they were a month ago.
I'm very confident that we'll have a team for 1991 and we'll continue to work in that direction.
At 7:45 last night, the news finally broke. The deal is expected to be finalised within 24 hours.
The AFL directors are now expected to rubber stamp Adelaide's entry at a meeting on Wednesday night. But the Adelaide club is already in full swing. A deputation headed by Neil Curley and Bob Hammond travelled to Melbourne over the weekend to talk with South Australians who are considering signing or renewing AFL contracts.
The South Australian National Football League signed an agreement with the AFL commissioners in Melbourne last night. The spokesman says 7 more drafted players have decided to sign up with the composite side.
Mr Bashir and General Manager Lee Wicker were also elected today to an interim board for the Adelaide Football Club. Speculation is the grand final pair John Cale and Graham Corns are front-runners. 42-year-old was announced as the man to lead Adelaide into the big league.
Yes, my attitude has changed slightly. This team has come upon us a bit quicker than we perhaps could have imagined. We could have predicted 3 months ago that this would happen. Well, there's no way known that I would have thought it was possible.
Also announced today the appointment of Neil Curley as team manager and former Norwood and Collingwood star Michael Taylor as assistant coach to Graham Corns.
The squad turned out together in the new club colours for the first time.
All of a sudden the teammates and the blokes who you've got to put your body on the line for.
From the historic announcement, Adelaide had 184 days to prepare for its first match. A named Guernsey, a sponsor and squad of players, and the Crows were away. Adelaide had its first training session on October 29, 1990 and endured a pre-season where they would train 13 out of 14 days. There was the gruelling commando-style camp at Rapid Bay. This was all about turning SANFL players into AFL footballers.
There were blokes from all over the state and blokes who'd been built in the year before and blokes you might not have liked, and all of a sudden you were thrown together. You hadn't planned it. You were there on I think it was in October, late October, early November, and all of a sudden you were training together. You were living and sleeping with each other 7 days a week, sometimes twice a day, and it was a little awkward. I mean, as it developed and as we trained harder and we started to sweat together and have a bit of fun, it developed very quickly. But the early days were a little awkward, and I guess, you know, looking back on them, they were good days, but there were some trying times early.
Essendon arrived in town for the first trial game on Friday, January 31. At West Lakes, the boulevard was a sea of cars. Inside the ground, 45,000 fans were there to see the Crows run out for the first time.
No, but there should be a free kick for Lindsay. No, the umpire's let the play go. Crows in full flight. Straight at the big uprights, and there's the first goal of the match for the Adelaide Crows, and they're looking pretty good. Redbone now, only small but very quick, and he is hit very hard by Romano Negri, and players letting the tensions get to them early. Throwing from the side, Madden gets front spot. McGuinness, gee, he's everywhere tonight. Puts the ball into the square. Klug again, ball comes to ground. Filkey. Not holding the bat. No, Jarman goes through a web, gets the handball across to Klug, doesn't miss from there. Puts it through, and John Klug has his first. And aren't the Crows glad that he's settled his contractual misdemeanor? He's made it 4 for the night. The Crows have won this. 13-4, here's the siren. A tremendous victory. Crowd rises as one. Graham Corns would be a very, very happy man. The Crows have virtually led all night.
A 27-point win. This is what Bomber coach Kevin Sheedy had to say.
I think coming to Adelaide in the next decade is going to be a pretty interesting exercise for Victorians, I can assure you of that.
The excitement escalated in the first round of the then Foster's Cup. Malcolm Blight's Geelong side was the opponent.
Filkey. Will it get to him? It sits now. Goes backwards. Goes to half-forward. They've got a paddock here for McDermott. Will it sit? He can go all the way. He can bounce as many times as he likes. He'll hit Hodges on the chest. It was wonderful footy.
The 77-point triumph had interstate critics predicting big things for the new kid on the block. The Crows then travelled to Waverley for their quarter-final appearance against St Kilda, where they won by 10 points. Next up, North Melbourne in the semi.
McGuinness battling hard onto that favoured left foot. Short pass into the pocket. Hodges, play on. Touched off McGuinness's boot.
Has to be a
free kick. Hodges from deep in that left forward pocket. Hooks the kick. It's close to the line. Murphy, good play. Good solid mark in the goal square.
The Crows bowed out of the pre-season competition, having turned in a credible campaign. It was time for the season proper and the round 1 match against Hawthorn. Chris McDermott was named captain, Tony McGuinness his deputy. Adelaide was braced with anticipation as AFL football was about to land on its doorstep. In the hours before the game, Corns spoke of nervous energy being rife in the Crows camp. The tension was about to be transformed into euphoria.
A credit to the public of South Australia. They've given the Crows full support, and here they go to open the season, to open their AFL career, and it's Negri who gets a mighty thump down towards the half-forward line. The Crows through Tregenza, the centre half-forward.
Tregenza's had about 5 kicks in the early minutes. Smith, Marshall, Crows on fire early. Marshall goes towards centre half-forward. It's a mark, McIntyre. Just inside 50, kicks from right on the line. To the goal line. It could be another goal to the Crows. It is.
Tried to crash his way through. McDermott does it beautifully to Marshall. He sets sail to the forward line once again.
Chance for his second.
25 metres out. Mark, but Marshall coming through strongly. Set sail towards Klug at half forward. Over the top he goes. McIntyre. This looks like another one. He shoots. He goes.
Assisted to the interchange bench. McDermott. Oh, down he goes. Oh, there'll be a fight on here. Negri's in quickly. McDermott's hurt. That was terrible stuff there by the two Hawthorn players, and McDermott has not moved.
Klug over the top. Gets it across to McGuinness. Spins out once, twice. Shoots.
Oh, Collingwood Guernsey couldn't get a kick. Oh, look at this. Ford Hocking. Whoa, Eddie Hocking.
Sale with a long kick into the forward line. Off hands to Lidner. Quick hand pass to Hart. Goal. He'll have a shot. There's no one in the square. He's just go over the top, will he? Unselfish play.
I haven't found a cheat in the siren. The siren goes.
It was an emphatic 86-point win. The Hawks would win the flag that year, but the Crows had won over a city. Back to earth the next week, a clinical Carlton came to Football Park and took the points.
Does well. McGuinness from 50 metres. Standing start. Pumps it into full forward. The only man there
then the first away game at the SCG, where Adelaide came back from a 27-point deficit at three-quarter time.
There's Hodges, punched away by Nettelbeck. Maynard, snap, they're in front.
It was a rugged start to the first Windy Hill visit. The Bombers reversed the trial game result.
There's some wrestling going on. Here's a chance for McIntyre. Back to Klug. Klug on the left foot, round the corner.
West Coast was too good at Subiaco, but led by Tony McGuinness, who was playing his first match against his former club, Adelaide was back on the winners list against Footscray. But the trip to Moorabbin and St Kilda was a Tony Lockett-inspired nightmare. Plugger boot at 12, the Saints by 131 points. It was their biggest victory, and to this day, Adelaide's greatest defeat. A different form of heartbreak at the MCG, which was then undergoing work for the new Great Southern Stand. The Crows were up by 21 points with 9 minutes to go. Wayne Carey and North Melbourne went about their own renovations.
The half-forward line, Carey the mark. There's the drop punt, beautiful balance, and I think he's put it through.
Side looking for Smart. There's the play and there's the siren. North Melbourne have stolen the game from Adelaide by 2 points. 18-12 to 18-10.
Chris McDermott's look said it all. Adelaide slumped to 12th, their lowest slide of the season. A 34-point win over Melbourne was followed by another flogging, this time against Geelong at Kidinia Park.
Quickly can't get through. Abernathy gets his foot to the ball quickly. Up to full forward. Neil falls over. McGuinness. Snapshot by Tony McGuinness is good. Well,
the Crows were badly in need of a break. Fitzroy came to Football Park on a bleak night and dominated for most of the game. Fans were already leaving when somehow the football god smiled and Rod Jamieson kicked straight.
Right for the distance, I think he may have just 44 seconds remaining. And they've got to get a goal.
They've got to get a goal.
Well, he's a long, long way out. He just kicks over the centre. They need a mark.
Hold.
Another free kick.
Oh,
another free kick.
He was held initially.
30 seconds remaining. Jarman, he's got to go long.
Why did he go out there?
He's gone to Paul Roos, who couldn't take the mark. But Roos tries to bottle it up.
Now boy's going to hold it. Oh, this is murder. Save in this game, it's been pinched. Absolutely stolen by...
well, it's going to be the last kick of the day. This is going to be the last kick.
Well, watch this on replay. Look at him. He's tried to make an effort. Well, Jamieson is, I'll tell you what. Might have been for a throw. They've got the best guy having the kick. He is a great kick. Is he going to the torpedo punt?
The siren has gone. The siren has gone. This kick, if it's a goal, will win the match for the Crows from 47 metres.
It'll make the distance.
Oh, he's kicked it. They've stolen it. It's a goal.
Absolute murder.
It was another tough day up the following week against Richmond, but it landed the Crows their first win on Melbourne soil.
Filkey. His kick is not too bad. Centre half forward, Gather Hocking. Handball to Hart. Hart's short pass is pretty good.
Well beaten by Lambert, but I think that's a goal. He slotted that one, and that is the sealer.
Brisbane was easily accounted for at home. With a 7-7 win-loss ratio, Adelaide ventured to the dreaded Victoria Park and was blown away by Collingwood to the tune of 131 points.
Our bodies were much smaller in comparison to our VFL, AFL opponents, and I guess we paid the price. I mean, we could be competitive for a quarter or a half a lot of times in the suburban warfare, as they call it, but once the body started to tire, you know, we certainly struggled to keep up with them in the second half, and we copped our fair share of losses and came back to Adelaide with our tail between our legs a lot of times.
It didn't get much better against Hawthorn at Waverley. With an 8-0 head start, the Hawks romped in. Rod Jamieson was fast becoming a focal point up forward. During the week, the Adelaide Match Committee addressed several areas for the match against Carlton at Princes Park. The big problem was slow starts. The Crows beat the Blues on a day where Chris McDermott showed that friendships mean nothing on the field.
He smacked me many times in the game, and he's up about 4-0 at this stage, so it was a pretty poor effort on my behalf, and I got a phone call from his mum the next day wanting to know if we were fighting or not. Bit of fun. You know, we sort of run into each other during the games a bit and have a bit of a laugh, and if either one of us can get one in on the other one, well, you take that opportunity, but he's still in front.
The finals was still a reality, especially with Adelaide's next 3 matches at home, but the loss to the lowly Swans really hurt.
To the boos of the crowd has put it straight through the middle, and Sydney have hit back and hit the lead.
It was probably the one which cost a finals place. The next week, Adelaide took on and beat Essendon with a classy display.
Kick to Jamison. What a great kick.
That was a magnificent kick.
Jamison is loose. Lindner is breaking. Jamison puts it out in front. Can Lindner reach it? Yes, he can.
Back to Wren. Clever. Brown, they're trying to get it out. Brown with a little one. Jamison's give to Jarman to kick the goal in front.
Nigel Smart's mark against West Coast was a highlight. A youngster by the name of Sean Wren was starting to make an impact after his debut against the Swans, but the Eagles took the points. It made the trip to the Western Oval a must-win affair against Footscray. The Crows were still a silly chance of the finals, but on a dreadful day, the Dogs proved too determined. St Kilda came to Football Park with real purpose. They were fourth on the premiership table with their first finals campaign for many years looming. The Saints did the job for Ken Sheldon.
He kicks it towards him and he takes a super mark.
That was a great mark. Here's a chance for McIntyre again, hooking it up in front of goal. One-on-one contest. Oh, Mark Jefferson. Great way to bounce. Oh, bounces the way of Micken. Micken over the top. Here's Bartlett with a chance, an open goal. Bartlett kicks for his second and puts it through.
And so the last game of that inaugural year, North Melbourne at home. In front of a big crowd, the Crows finished the season as they began. An 11-goal second term saw them set for a big day out. Rod Jamison booted 8, Adelaide by 73.
To Ginza. Oh, good mark. Commentator's nightmare, those two. Oh, look at the mark. He is a promising player, Wren.
He did himself nice in that, Pete, didn't he?
No, he's only a young kid too, and look at that kick. Beautiful pass. Filkey having a great day. The short one is on. Oh, look at the mark.
Official attendance today, 36,225. See, they have supported their Crows this season. Oh, superbly done there. Knocked on, and the goal results to Klug after the good work from Filkey.
After the game, the players did a lap of the park acknowledging their supporters. During the course of the year, 509,236 South Australians had gone to watch the Crows. Wins and 12 losses for a final ranking of 9th. Nigel Smart became the club's first All-Australian. Mark Micken was best and fairest and also polled the best in the Brownlow. Rod Jamison topped the goal scoring with 49 goals.